Hello, and welcome to the Quest for Games. I'm Jerry, and in this video, I'm going to continue on the series that I've been working on for Massive Darkness. This time, I'm going to talk about Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape's dungeon crawl portion. I will have subsequent videos that talk about each one of the different character classes. So we're basically going to talk about the dungeon crawl portion. As I've said in past videos, but in case this is the first one you're tuning into, Massive Darkness is a 1 to 6 player dungeon crawl where you go through a dungeon scenario, opening doors, fighting monsters, picking up loot, gaining experience, and improving your character, all in a quest to try to get to the end of that dungeon or potentially a boss at the end of that scenario. So with that said, let's get it to the table and start the setup. Hello and welcome to the table. I'm going to start the setup here, and this is going to be a little bit of an abbreviated setup, but I'm going to go through all the things that you need to do to set up. So the first thing we need to do in the setup is we have to pick our character who we're going to play. I've chosen to pick Nihilus, who's a ranger, Freda, who's a rogue. 2-player game. That's what I'm setting up for, is a 2-player game. So when you're setting them up, you get this plastic tray out. You pick what color you want to play after you've picked your hero, and you put the pegs into the 0 spots and into level 1. You take your minifigure out and you put your colored base on the minifigure and put them in the starting spot, which is this right here. You will also set and put, if you look down at the level, it shows 1 rare and 3 epic. So we've put 1 rare and 3 epic tokens out onto their level tracker so that when they level, these wind up going into the treasure bag. And I'll show you how we set that up in just a minute. We both put out all of the starting level gear. So this is starting equipment. And the ranger chose to pick a bow, which is a 2-handed weapon. So the short bow is a 2-handed weapon, and they get 1 yellow dice for range and 1 yellow dice for melee. While I'm here and talking about this, I might as well talk about the player card. Nihilus gets 2 magic, 5 health. They have a special move +1. When they're in shadow, if they roll the shadow dice, if that face is rolled, then they get to draw and discard 1 arrow card and apply its top effect. So we'll talk more about what that means in a minute. We also have leather armor for them. For Phaedra, we've chosen a dagger. The dagger is only a 1-handed weapon. On the attack, if we roll magic, the defender gets -1 shield, and we get to roll 1 yellow. And we'll talk about what all that stuff means here in a minute. Also, leather armor. Her abilities are, if you roll a magic during combat, you get to re-roll a dice. And in the shadow side, she gets to take 1 extra rogue token. Again, we got to talk about how those play. I'm going to do a little bit of that, but try not to do too much. Each character got this blue and black token. That tells you if you've activated that character or not yet. They got to choose 1 of their level abilities. I had to set up the ranger's cards, the arrow cards for the ranger, and I had to set up the rogue dice, or the rogue token bag for the rogue. They get the same token, and here's the rogue's deck. The rogue gets these 2 cards because there's no number on them. They get those 2 for free. They've chosen a level 1 skill, and they've got purple tokens, purple base, and they're set in the beginning place. So with that, I have both of the characters set up. So the next thing we're supposed to do in setting up, there's this treasure bag. So we take all of these discs that have this, looks like 2 copper coins in the green background, common tokens, and we're going to put all of those into this bag. And then we're supposed to take 5 of the rare tokens and also put those into this bag. And so now I have the treasure bag set up. I have set up 3 sets of cards. I'm going to zoom into the board eventually here, but trying to show you everything that's out here. I have set up 3 decks of cards that are the common treasure, the rare treasure, and the epic treasures. And then they'll have items. Then I had to set up 3 mob sets of cards. So they're mob item cards. And right now there's level 1, 2 mob item cards. We have to set up 3 decks of mob cards. There's the level 1 to 2 mob cards. And this is probably the only deck we're going to actually see during this teach. This is a level 1, 2 version of the skeleton card. You can see that it's skeletons. They give you 1 random loot. They have 2 health. They get 1 blue dice when you attack them. During the defense, if they roll 2 hands or paws, they add 1 skeleton minion to this mob if you can, unless the attacking hero uses 1 magic. Just for comparisons, there's that same mob at level 5. And you see they got 4 shields now, and they get 5 health, and they give you 2 loot instead of just 1. Other than that, oh, and they only have to roll 1 paw now. The mobs level up like that. I have to get out level 1 and 2, level 3 and 4, and then off camera back there, level 5, wandering monsters. So this is a wandering monster. This is a level 1, 2 wandering monster. It's the ghoul. You can see that the ghoul gives you 2 random treasures, and those random treasures will pull 2 chips out of this bag once we defeat them to figure out what those were. Plus you get 1 rare loot automatically. So that'll mean we draw 1 card off of the rare deck. It has 5 health per hero. So in a 2-player game, it's got 10 health. He gets to roll 2 blue and 1 black dice. And then there's activation conditions on it, which talk about things of how and when you activate it. And we'll get into that when one of these come out. During combat, if it rolls any paws, move the closest mob 1 zone toward the ghoul. So bring them in closer to the ghoul. When the ghoul's attacking, he gets 1 orange and 1 black dice. And the ghouls, when they come out, you'll see that, but I'm still in setup. When the ghouls come out, they don't get a special card. They don't get an item card like the mobs do. And I had to get out and shuffle the door cards. You need a supply of health tokens, and the suggestion that they give you is you should put the right number of health tokens on your character. So 5 health on both of the characters. We have to have a supply of magic tokens available. So I need to put 3 magic tokens here and 2 magic tokens there so that they know. So when you use magic, you draw one of those, you put one of these tokens away. When you lose health, you have to remove one of the heart tokens on there. You can do it the way you like. That's the suggestion in the book. We found it to be pretty good, as opposed to saying I'm adding tokens, which is the other way I've seen this played. The problem with not having the tokens on the card and adding tokens to the card until you get to the 5 is that when you get to the 2nd level, you get another health. So you put another token there because they're now at 6. And so every time you level, you get more health. And so you have to remember what the number is plus this, or you just have that number of tokens in there. Again, your mileage may vary, do whatever you like, but this is the suggestion from the rule book, is that you should be doing that. I also have to have status tokens. On one side is fire, and on the other side is ice, and then have a massive supply of dice. Then we go to the rule book, and you'll see in the rule book a description of how to set up, and I'm going to set up the tutorial, but you'll see a description of how to set up the tutorial, what your objectives are, what any special rules are for this, which I'll tell you those as I'm setting it up. And then it tells you what boards you need, 1A and 4A, the bridge, and you'll see the icons of what you're supposed to be putting out. This is index of what those icons are. One thing also that needs to be mentioned is based on the number of players, you're going to put out 1, 2, or 3 random treasures right there. Another thing that should be mentioned, I think, while I'm trying to explain some of these things is you'll see there's a marker right there for a mob. Some of these scenarios have this kind of a marker for the mob, which is white instead of this gray token. This white means they're there at the beginning of the game. As soon as you set this scenario up, you would draw a mob card and put it there and put another one there. These 4 are not out until the doors are open that go to their areas. And during gameplay, we'll talk about that. But you find this section, there's 11 quests, and it will tell you to put, this is 4A and 1A. It told me to put the starting player token in this spot, told me to put 2 doors here. Those are my doors. This is a normal door token. That's the closed, and that's the open side of a door. So if you don't have these doors, you would be putting 1 door token like that out. You're supposed to put 1 treasure because I'm playing a 2-player game. You'll put 1 objective token, 1 monster token. There's another objective token that's on its gray side over here. There's a bridge, which that is my kind of a special bridge too. This is the normal bridge board. And I had to put a monster spawning token on that, which is what that purple token is right there, so that we can spawn there. So that's pretty much what it told me to do to set up this scenario. So for this scenario, our objective is gather the ritual scroll and then to destroy the rift. So the scroll, in order to close the rift, the heroes will need the scroll, which is represented by the color side up objective token. They will have to spend 1 movement point to pick that up. And when they do, all heroes gain 5 XP. So we have to remember that. All heroes are going to gain 5 XP when they pick that up. To close the rift, the hero holding the scroll must spend 1 action, not movement point, and we'll talk about that during the rules, while standing on the gray objective token to destroy the rift. There weren't any white mob icons in the setup for this scenario, so I don't have to put out any mobs right away. No mobs go out right now. The last thing we have to set up is this darkness track, which is basically keeping track of turn order. And things happen at certain turns, which we'll see as we go through playing. Okay, so that's the game set up, and we're ready to start getting into the rules. Okay, so I zoomed into the board a little bit more so that we can talk about a first set of rules. The first things that I want to talk about and point out on this board is each one of our square tiles has 9 spaces in it. And you can see there's a square here, there's a little square here, there's 1 here. There are walls around it here that block this off and make it a chamber. And that's the term for this, is a chamber. These, where our heroes are right now, they're in the light. This is in shadow. This whole room is in shadow, but that chamber or room is behind a door, or behind a set of doors. Again, we have light over here. This is darkness and light. Let's talk about line of sight a little bit. Line of sight is a straight line, no angle. So right now, our 2 characters can see up to this door, but they can't see what's going on in here. When if this door was open, now they could both see through the door and they could see to this space. So they could see the one they're in, this space, and this space, but they still couldn't see this space because it's not a straight line of sight. How far does line of sight stretch? As far as there's an open passage. So if we were up here, you could see all the way through here to here because there's no walls in here. So range for a melee character is the square they're in, and that's it, or zone they're in. Range for a magic user, which I don't have out here, is the square they're in plus 1 more. So they can be in this square or this square. For a ranged character, they can't attack in the square that they're in, but they can attack as far as they can see. So Nahus would be able to attack all the way to this corner. but could not attack anybody that's in the same square as they are, not with range at least. Their bow that they have gives them 1 melee, so they can attack melee. There's 4 phases in a round or in a turn. There's the hero phase, then there's the enemy phase, then there's a level up phase, and then there's the darknesses phase, which moves that thing on the darkness track. So what can a hero do on their phase? The hero has 3 action points. A hero can do a movement for one of those action points. And this is a little bit tricky, so I want to make sure that I explain it well. When you get a movement point, you get 2 movement points for 1 action. What a movement entails is picking something up, moving one zone or space, or opening a door, all count as 1 movement point. And you get 2 movement points per movement action that you take. We get to pick who wants to go first. Let's just say we're going to have Freda go first, and they're going to take an action. So their action is move once, going to do a movement action. I get 1 point for the movement, and she gets 1 point, takes 1 movement point to open that door. So that was 1 action, 2 movement points, but 1 action. Because I opened the door, I have to take a door card. The door card says place 2 treasures and 1 mob in the furthest zone of this chamber. So I put 2 more treasure tokens in that spot. I'm going to move the door for a minute so you can see that better. Now let's just go ahead and replace it with a cardboard door. That one's closed still. So I had to put 2 treasure tokens for this, and I had to add 1 mob. So I draw a mob card, and it's those skeletons. I have to draw a level 1 item for the mob and put it underneath the mob. I'm going to put it over here so we can still see it even though it's on the board. We are playing a 2-player game, so I have to pull out leader mob, and then 2, because I'm playing a 2-player game, 2 of his minion mobs. So I've got 3 characters there. I opened the door. I did the door card, right? So I opened the door. I've done this door card. There's also a mob in here. So I have to take care of that. This token for the mob I have to take care of. So I have to draw another mob card. This one's gargoyles. I have to take another mob level 1/2. So this is a level 1/2 mob and a level 1/2 mob card. So now I have to pull out the gargoyles. So I have to pull out the figures for the gargoyles, the gargoyle leader and their 2 and his 2 mobs. All of them, all of these minions, all of these creatures are all in this one space. Now, Freda needs to decide. She could spend 1 more action, do 2 more movements, be in here, and be able to start attacking the mobs. So Phaedra, being a rogue, took her first action. She's going to flip over this shadow token because she got 3 tokens. And I'll explain more about how rogues play in a minute. Well, in a different video. But she had 3 tokens at the start of her turn. She took the 1 to do a normal action. Her second action is going to be this token, which says she gets to move up to 2 and then attack. So she's going to use that for her second action. So she gets to move up to 2, 1, 2, and then she gets to attack. I have to build a dice pool based on her attacking. She gets 1 dice, 1 yellow dice for the dagger that she has. She gets 1 purple dice because she's in shadow. The gargoyles get 1 blue dice, and then each minion gives the gargoyles 1 black dice. So that's the dice pool that I have to roll. The gargoyles have something on the paws, but there are no paws. So that's 1 attack that they did back to Freda. So depending upon how she does things on her turn, she may have to take that damage. And they have 1 block. But she's gotten these 2 magic bursts, and her special skill is in combat. If you get any magic, If you roll any magic, you can use that magic to re-roll a dice. So she's got 2, so she's going to re-roll these 2 dice. And still got that, but now it's a paw, which is probably not any good. Yeah, because that paw basically gives them another shield. So we're going to resolve these dice. They've got 2 shields. She doesn't get anything out of those. Right now, she's got 1 hit, 2 defend. Two of those hits are defended. So that's it. She didn't do any damage to anybody. Her next token that we're going to flip over for this last action, which is the attack action, she gets +1 yellow dice. So we're going to add 1 yellow dice, and we have to put the 2 black dice back out here because there's still the 2 gargoyle minions. She's in trouble. That's going to these 2 is going to allow her to re-roll dice again, so she can actually re-roll. She's got 4, so she can actually re-roll 4 dice. Let's re-roll these 3. And 1 became a defense. So let's re-roll that defense. Now it's an attack. It's a hit, but they have 1 defense. So the mobs will take 1 damage out of all of that. 1 damage was done to 1 of the minions. That would be Freda's turn. So now it's Nahala's turn. So Nahala is a ranger, but can't hit anything from where they're standing. So they're going to have to take their first action and do 2 moves. So they'll move 1, 2. They still have 2 actions left. So as a ranger, they're going to have to use these arrow cards. They flip 1 arrow card over at a turn. They got 1 arrow, 2 arrows, 3, 4, 5, 6 arrows. If they get to over 7 arrows, they bust. At exactly 7 arrows, we'll do their bullseye, the top row. If they bust, they'll do the bottom row. I'm not going to take any more chances. I'll just take the middle row. So I get 1 yellow dice and the shadow dice because they're in shadow. Then the leader gets 1 blue and then 2 black for the 2 minions that the gargoyles have there. This is what we're going to be rolling. Alice did his shadow ability, so that means I'm supposed to roll the next card and apply its bullseye. Its bullseye means I get to re-roll 2. So they didn't block anything. That hit plus this says any stars equals a hit. This is an extra hit star, so that's 2 hits. So we're at 1, 2, 3 hits, and because of that star, I have to apply frost potentially if I just go through the dice the way they are. So since I can do 2 re-rolls, I'll re-roll these 2. Okay, so that's not bad. You have to take 1 damage, and then they're applying, because of that star, they're applying 1 hit for that. This is another star, so that's applying a 2nd hit. And then this is saying that they have to take the frost damage. And then I have another sword, so we wind up with 3 hits, 3 damage on the gargoyles. Well, the gargoyles can only take 2 damage. So now they're at 4. So with that 4 damage on there, that means the 2 minions go and the leader is the only one left standing. And the leader has the frost on it. So these cards all have to be discarded. So the way frost works is that basically stuns, he's frozen. So that gargoyle is stunned and cannot do anything on its next activation. So Nihilus has 1 more attack, 1 more action. So for their last action, I'm going to have them do one attack now, but I'm going to attack the skeletons. So we go through the same thing, 2 arrows. So we're at 5. We hit 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means he did his bullseye. Don't get any extra dice, so we're going to go do the same thing. 1 yellow, the purple because they're in shadow, 2 minions, and 1 blue for the skeletons. So these are the dice that we're rolling. He would have ignored all of the slashes because of his bullseye here. They're taking 4 fire damage. He got 3 hits with his shadow. They're plus 1 regular hit there, so that's 4 hits. They're blocking 1, so they're taking at least 3 hits. What does the hand do? They have to have 2 hands to add a skeletal mob, so they're not going to do that. So we're going to resolve the fire on them. So we've got to put 4 fire tokens because his bullseye said defender takes 2 fire, defender takes 2 fire, and then I was supposed to ignore any slashes. There weren't any slashes. I'm also doing 3 damage, so we'll put 3 health tokens, 3 damage tokens on here. Well, only one of them's going to stay because one of the minion skeletons is dead because there are only 2. So 1 minion skeleton is gone. That was all of the heroes' turns. Other things the heroes could have done on their turn, since they started out in the same space, they could have traded items back and forth, but they didn't need to do any trading. They could recover. They're allowed to get 2 health or 2 mana or 1 of each back. Or they could do a special action. And some characters have special actions as one of the things that they can do. Nihilus was allowed to move 3. I only moved him 2 on his move turn. He had 3 movement points. So I guess technically when he moved into this spot, he could have used his 3rd movement point to pick up this. So let's do that so that we can see what that does. So I picked up this treasure. I'm going to go into the treasure bag and I'm going to pull out a token, which this token says that I just got a common treasure. And I can pick 1 common treasure card. It's a consumable, which I didn't really talk about too much, but each spot on the board, there's 2 hand spots, there's a helmet spot, a chest spot, a feet spot, a special item spot. These that have a bag on them are considered consumable items, and they're just in like your backpack. They're not out. There is no limit to how many things you can have in your backpack. Now we're moving on to the enemy's turn. The enemy gets to do 2 things. They can either attack or move. So if, let's just say the characters weren't where they were, the minions would move to the closest hero. But there's a hero right in range, so the enemies are going to attack the hero that's right in range. Gargoyle is frozen, so I have to take the frozen token away from the gargoyle. Can't do anything this activation because they were frozen, so they have to skip the whole activation. So the gargoyles aren't going to attack. Our ranger here did a big favor to our rogue. Now the skeletons are going to activate. So when the skeletons activate, for each one of the fire tokens that are on there, I'm supposed to roll a yellow dice. And for each hit on the yellow dice, they have to take 1 damage. Well, I rolled 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. So they have to take 4 damage. Well, 2 of that damage removes this minion. And then now there's 3 more damage. Well, that 3 damage kills the leader. And now I didn't talk about this when I should have. I'm sorry. When the rogue killed the 1 person, they were supposed to get 1 XP from that minion that they killed. The ranger killed a minion, so they got 1 XP for that. This was during their turns, and I missed it. Now he killed another minion, actually 2 minions, and they killed a leader. So by killing the leader, everyone gets 3 XP for killing the leader. So 1, 2, 3 XP, 3 XP for the rogue. This set of minions is gone. And the ranger, even though they're not in the space, gets to take this item. So they could take this melee knuckles item. They're going to put that in their backpack because they have a two-handed weapon, so that's not going to help them. We're now done with the enemy's turn. So the next thing we're supposed to do is level up. This tile says for 5 XP, you go to level 2. Our ranger, after doing all that damage, has 5 XP, so they're supposed to level up, taking that 5 XP away and moving themselves to a level 2. What happens now that they're level 2 is we put the rare into the bag. So now there's more rare treasures in the treasure bag, and they get 1 health back. So they're back at 5 right now. Their max is now 6. Phaedra, she didn't get enough to level up. An important point to understand here is now the dungeon is at level 2. Unlike the way the original Massive Darkness worked, if you're used to that, where they had tiles out on the map where things would level up based on what tile you crossed. In Massive Darkness 2, it's based on your XP. Once you level up to 2 or 3 or whatever, whoever is the highest level, the dungeon is now at your level. So any mobs I pull out from now on will have to be a second level mob. Well, 1 and 2 is the same mob, so it doesn't really matter. So then we're supposed to do the darkness phase. You can see we're going to go from 1 to 2. If you look over top of 2, nothing happens. The next turn, we're going to be spawning a wandering monster. I'm going to try to make sure we get to at least that. So now we go back to the top again, and we take the heroes' turns again. I'm going to let Phaedra take their turn first. Phaedra is a rogue, so I have to draw 3 tokens out of the rogue bag. So these are the 3 tokens I drew out of the rogue bag. She has to use one of these to do one of her 3 actions. Her first action, she's going to use this one for her attack, which means she gets an orange dice too. So she gets an orange dice along with the yellow dice that she gets from her weapon. Plus she's in shadow, so she gets the purple dice. This token here, when you see this shadow token, it would mean that she gets to attack out of shadow no matter if she's in light or not. It's not going to help her right now, but no minions left. So it's just the leader, and the leader gets 1 blue dice. So this is what we're going to roll. So unfortunately, she got no hits, and there's 1 defense. But she did roll 1 magic. So because she rolled the 1 magic, she gets to re-roll 1 dice. I'm going to re-roll the orange dice. She got 3 swords. 3 swords is 3 damage. That's all that the gargoyle has left is 2. So the gargoyle is now dispatched. So the item goes to Phaedra. Not sure she wants that either, so we'll just set it in her backpack too. So that was her first action, and she took out the gargoyle leader, which means she gets 3 XP. And our ranger gets 3 because taking out a leader, everybody gets 3. Now on her second action, she gets 3. We're going to flip over the shadow, going to do a movement, so she gets 2 movement points. So she gets to pick up both of the 2 treasures because she had 2 movement points. So she picked up both of those 2 treasure discs, and now she'll draw out of the treasure bag and say she got a common and a rare treasure. So she draws 1 common card, which is a scroll. Not drawing very well. She got these Heroes Grievers, which is part of the Shadowbane set, which gives you defense for your, it's a leg slot item. Doesn't have anything in the leg slot, so we'll go ahead and put that in there. So that was 2. She's got 1 more action to make her third. We'll flip this third one over, and she's going to pick up the scroll that we need and open this door. That's 2 movement points, 1 to pick that up and 1 to open this door. She opened a door. We got to look at a door card. Spawn 1 mob on any portal. Remove 1 mob token from any chamber if possible. Well, we don't have any more mob tokens left, but we do have to spawn. It's now a level 2, even though we're still going into the 1-2 stack. We have to spawn a level 2, which this time it's undead. So I'm going to put them over to the side over here. We have to bring one item for them up. And we got to put their minions on the spawn portal. So these monsters, minions, all spawn on that spawn portal because of that door card from me opening that door. And that is all 3 actions Phaedra can take. So now it's Nialis' turn. So on Nialis' first action, they're going to move 1 space, and we're going to trade, give the token to Nialis, and 1 movement action, a trade action. So that trade took the second action point, and then for the third action point, they're going to move. They can move 3, but we're going to move 2. So that was the hero's second turn. Now it's time for the enemies activate. The first thing they're going to do is try to attack something. They have nothing to attack. So they're going to move 1 space. Then they're going to try to attack something. Again, nothing to attack. So they're going to move 1 space towards the closest hero. And I need to make sure that I clarify some of that. It's the closest hero. Even though these are the same distance, they're going to move the same place. Being the same distance, we can decide as players which one of the 2 heroes they're going to move towards. But unlike the way the original Mass of Darkness worked, in case you understood that, it's not they're not moving towards the character that's got the most or least health or whatever. It's just the closest hero. Simplified it. All right, so they took their 2 things. That's all they can do for their enemy phase. Now it's time for level up. Well, to go to level 3, Nialis needs 10. They're at 4. But to go to level 2, Phaedra needs 5. And they're at 7. So they're going to level up. We get to put their chip into the bag. They get 1 health back. They don't automatically completely gain all of their health. They only get the 1 health back. There is a house rule that we've used in our household where we say, well, when you level and anything else, you get all your health back. The official rules, you just get the 1 additional health because you got 1 health for leveling. So that's the level up phase. So now we're into the darkness phase. And in the darkness phase, we move this 1 space over, and I have to spawn a wandering monster. Perfect. So we talked a little bit about the wandering monsters cards, but here's the wandering monster I picked. It's Ghoul, which is, so Ghoul spawned. He doesn't fit on my bridge. He gets 2, he's got 2 treasures, which we're supposed to technically pick those up, so I'll go do that. And 1 epic, which I don't have to pick. The Ghoul will have 2 shields and 1 black dice. And then when it's time for them to activate, if there is a minion in the Ghoul's zone, kill the minion in that zone, the player's choice, and the Ghoul heals 5 health. Otherwise, the Ghoul moves 3 zones towards the closest hero and attacks them. So we'll put his here, and technically what I was supposed to do for both of these is I'm supposed to go in to the bag, the treasure bag, and pull out 1 treasure disc for the undead, and I have to pull out 2 treasure discs for, wow, I got really lucky there. Pull out 2 treasure discs for the Ghoul. All right, so now we're back to, it's the hero's turn. So Nialis purposely stopped in that spot. They're in the darkness. They're going to attack these 3 mobs. So since they're in the darkness, they get a purple. They get 1 yellow. This mob gets no defense, it looks like, but they get 2 black dice. I don't see a blue dice on them. So that's what we've got. We're going to have to do the whole flipping arrow cards. So there's 2 arrow cards. There's 4. So we're at 6. I think I'm just going to set pat at 6 because I'm afraid to bust. So that means we do the middle section. So I will roll the dice for their attack. Didn't block anything. On that magic, I keep rolling magics on the shadow. Why do I keep rolling magic on the shadow dice? I don't know. On the magic, it would take 2 shield away, and you automatically get 2 more magic. So unfortunately, my arrow cards didn't do me any good. I only have the 1 hit, so I am doing 1 health worth of damage to the undead. All right, so that was the Nihilus's first turn. Let's take their second turn. We're basically doing the same thing all over again. Got to discard these arrow cards. And when they upgraded, he got an extra ability. Arrow volley is his upgraded ability. I should talk a little bit about these, but I'll talk about them when I'm doing each character. Technically, since I had the arrow volley, attacks that I had, it said each mob in line of sight takes 1 wound. So let me go back and look at that again. This one says we get, for every magic, they minus 2 shields. Well, but this is 2 magic plus that magic, that's 3 magic. So my arrow volley should have taken and made them take 3 wounds. They have 4 health, so that only gets rid of 1 of the minions because these guys are beefier. So we get those, I'll get those out of there, but there's 1 of the minions is gone. So now we'll take our next turn, and we have to do the arrow card thing again. So there's 2. That's 5. I'm going to go. There's 6. Okay. I'm not going to go any further than that because I don't think I'm going to get a 7. So they take 1 less. They'll get 1 less shield. One of the minions is gone, so 1 less black dice. They'll get 1 less shield. Well, they are not rolling any shields. I get to add a yellow dice to my roll, and I get a reroll. So I got 2 swords and the paw. That's only during the attack, so that's not during the defense. So, okay, so 2 damage. That doesn't take that minion out. Last turn for Nihilus. We're going to do their arrow bit again. So there's 3, 4, 5. I'm out of cards, so I should take this deck and reshuffle it. This is what we're rolling. I got an asterisk, which gives me 2 swords, so that's 4 swords. But I have to resolve the slash, so take 1 damage. I get 4 plus 1, so 5 damage to this target. 4 of these will come off, and that will get rid of the second minion. But that was all of what Nihilus could do. So now it's Phaedra's turn. So I drew 1 that says draw 1 token after this action, and then a shadow and a ignore all their response attacks. So I'm going to use the draw 1 token after this action to do my move action, which allows me to draw another token. And I will move 1, 2 during that move action. So now for my first attack action, I'm going to take the shadow token which means still in shadow. So I get to use the shadow dice, one yellow for here and one yellow for that new weapon that they just got. No minions, no response dice, according to that. Okay, so that's what we're rolling. And that was 4 damage. That takes out the undead leader. Oops, I did it again. For the 2 minions that Nyala's killed, they were supposed to take 2 XP. Now, because the leader got killed, everybody gets 3. Okay, I still have 2 action tokens for the rogue. Do I start up the big fight? What the heck? So we'll use this to do a move. 1, 2. Not sure I'm allowed on that bridge, but we're going to be there. Now it's an attack. I get an orange dice for that attack. So I'm putting an orange dice in my mix. I'm in shadow. So what does the defense dice for this guy look like? He gets 2 blue and 1 black. So let's see how bad a decision this was. 1 damage, 3 blocks. Oh, but because of the star, I get to re-roll 1 of these. Yes, no blocks. Well, 1 block, but that became a 0 block. So we're doing, I have to take 1 damage from this dice, and we're doing 5 damage to the ghoul, but he's 5 health per person, so he's at 10 health. So he still has 5 health left. That puts all of Freda's tokens done. We're now on the enemy turn. And during the enemy's activation, the ghoul says if there's any minions in the ghoul zone, then he's supposed to kill them and get 5 health back, where there's no minions in there. Otherwise, the ghoul is supposed to move 3 zones towards the nearest hero and attack that hero if possible. Well, yep, you can attack that hero. Let's see what they get for attack dice. They get 1 orange and 1 black attack dice. Phaedra gets 1 blue, and then her legs lets her ignore 1 dice. 1 blue. So defended once. It's a melee attack. I don't see anything on magic attack special for the ghoul, so the asterisk didn't do, or the magic didn't do anything, but 1 attack. That 1 attack was defended. Ghoul's not so bad. All right. So now we have to do the level up phase. Phaedra is at 5 and needs 10, and Nialis is at 9 and needs 10, so neither one of them can level up yet. So now we're at the darkness phase, and what kind of goodness can happen to us there? Oh, so I'm supposed to add 1 more epic loot chip to the treasure bag. So now we're back on the hero's turns. So what the heck? Let's let Phaedra go first. Where's her bag of tricks? Draws 3 chips out of the bag. 1, 2, 3. All right. So her first attack, she's going to use poison plus gets an orange dice. She's got a special thing that says when doing an attack with a poison token, you're supposed to keep it next to the mob until that mob dies. So we're going to put the poison, I'm just going to put it on their card so we know that the ghoul's poisoned. Then I get an orange for that. I got 2 yellows for those 2. The ghoul gets 2 blues and 1 black. I'm in shadow, so I get a purple. You get these dice pools get to be big. Now, one thing I should make sure that I mention here is I'm saying these dice pools get to be big. That no one color in the dice pool can be more than 3 dice. I couldn't get more than 3 yellows in there, so that's a limitation. So let's see what happens because of what I rolled. No defense. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 hits. What does the shadow do? Draw 1 rogue token. So because of the shadow, or yeah, because of the shadow dice, I get to draw an extra token. So I have to take 1 damage from these swipes, and then I'm doing 4 damage back. So our ghoul is within 1 hit point of its life. When they activate the next time, the poison will go off and they're supposed to take 2 damage. When we do shadow, Phaedra's special ability for flipping that shadow token over on an attack means any magic attack gives her 1 sword. So let's do that. We have, I think, the same sets to roll, minus the orange dice. Yes. Yep. Because we're in shadow and I'm using the shadow chip, that counts as 3 hits. That's 2 defense, nothing coming back at her. 2 defense, 3 hits, 1 damage. The ghoul's dead. So when a wandering monster dies, everybody gets 5 XP. So get to take 2. Since Phaedra killed it, she gets to take 2 cards. She's got a Seer of Fortune, some kind of a magic attack item, and a ranged attack to help deal extra wounds, which I'm sure our ranger would like. So 1 more. 2 that I drew for those 2, for the 2 tokens, and then 1 for what's on the card. So I have to draw 1 more. Looks like a reroll an attack dice that goes into your gem slot. Anyway, so the ghoul is gone, and there's still 2 more turns here, but I think just for the purposes of this video, I'm going to have Nyala take their turn, 3 activations, 1 activation, 2 activations, 3rd activation, they're going to use this on that and close the portal, and we've just completed the mission, and we were successful at completing and winning the day. So that's it for the teach of the dungeon crawl part of this set of videos. I will do other videos on each one of the classes, probably 2 in each video. For final thoughts, I've already said up front, I like this game. I'd give it a 10. There are differences between Massive Darkness 1 and Massive Darkness 2. I would have probably given Massive Darkness 1 at the time it came out, which is 2017, at least a 9. The things that they've done in Massive Darkness 2 have made it a lot better. They've streamlined some of the rules and made the game a lot better. If you can find Massive Darkness 1 and the upgrade pack to take all of the scenarios, mobs, and heroes that are in Massive Darkness 1 and bring them into Massive Darkness 2, if you really like Massive Darkness 2, I would really consider doing that, because I have done that and I really enjoy. Massive Darkness 2 is angels versus demons kind of a thing for the most part. Massive Darkness 1 was a typical dungeon crawl where you're fighting ratlings and normal fantasy kind of a thing. Build quality, you saw it out here. There's a lot of cards. The cards are normal card stock. The boards are good, thick. The player boards are nice. They have nice little slots for all of your cards and stuff in there. So I think the build quality is good. With a rating of a 10, I think my pros would go on forever. But to me, one of the biggest things that they did in Massive Darkness 2 that I think makes it so much better than any other dungeon crawl out there is this whole, each character plays a little differently. You saw, if you were watching the video, that the ranger has this risk versus reward, where I'm flipping over cards and I'm trying not to get more than 7 arrows. Based on if I can get those 7 arrows, I get a bullseye and I get a much more effective attack. If I get less, then my attack isn't as great, but it's not too bad. If I get more than 7 and I bust, which I didn't do during the video, the ramifications of busting is sometimes pretty bad. Just the fact that the story and going through the dungeon, I think, is just, I just like dungeon crawls. So cons, there are times, so at a higher player count, you didn't see this, but at a higher player count, let's say I have 6 people out here at the higher player count. When you have 6 people, that means you have 6 of these minion dice that are coming out when you do your attack. And at the very beginning, when you don't have any armor and you're only rolling 1 blue dice, you roll 6 of these dice and you get 6 hits. You wind up, a character winds up taking 6 damage. And when you first start out, you only have 5. You only have 5 health. But if I was going to give it a con, that would be the only one that I have. Is this game for you? Well, it's a dungeon crawl, and you saw while I was doing the teach exactly how the thing plays. I like the dungeon crawl. It's cooperative. If you're not a fan of cooperative, it's not like Arcadia Quest, where it's cooperative in PvP at the same time, where you're in guilds trying to kill each other. This one, it's completely cooperative. There is no friendly fire. There's no enemies out there from that are players. All the enemies are the monsters. So if that's not your cup of tea, okay. With that, I think that's the end of my final thoughts. Obviously, I enjoy the game and I like it. I have paid for all of this. None of this is sponsored content. All the opinions and everything you hear in here is mine and mine alone, my opinion. If you got this far with me in this video, thank you. If you liked it, please like the video. And if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to my channel. And with all that said, have fun gaming, and I'll see you next time.